The League of the Genuine is back. It is back to discuss your subject of counterfeits, the controversy around the fakes, the substandard. We pledge to continue serving in this area, giving you the programming, awareness on the issue. We have an interesting guest in the studio who is going to be giving us his views, ideas about counterfeits. He happens to be the person who introduced the subject of counterfeiting in the media, in the public debate, and that is none other than Andrew Kabuura. Andrew Kabuura is known in another area to be a sports broadcaster, sports commentators. Andrew, you're welcome.
Thank you very much.
It's a long time since you talked anything counterfeit.
Yeah.
But I do remember in 2017, 2018, you were hosting the Don't Be Fake TV show we had on NTV on counterfeits.
Yeah.
How has the journey been? Because out there where you are,
Yeah.
I'm sure you come into contact with counterfeits. How have counterfeits been in your world where you've been?
I've been, first of all, thank you very much. I've been lucky to do a couple of TV shows and discuss a couple of topics that I think force opinion from the public. But I'll be honest with you, I don't remember doing a show that had so much emotional attachment with the public. Obviously, I'm a sports commentator, and sport is about emotion. It's more than a religion. We scream, we cry, we laugh. But counterfeit is quietly, getting everyone to pay attention. And for so many reasons, partly because I've always believed the public up to now does not understand how big the issue of counterfeit is. And if the public understands, then they have lost faith in some of the authorities saying, are these guys going to control the issue of counterfeit? And partly because a small part of the public has looked at the negative version and impact of counterfeits, and there is a bigger public that simply either doesn't care or is too price sensitive to care. So for me, the impact of the Don't Be Fake show right from the beginning when it aired has been massive. Up to today, I meet so many people who sometimes ask me products in supermarkets, is this fake, is this genuine? And sometimes I don't know myself because there are so many new brands, there are so many new products on shelves. But I think we did start a fantastic conversation that not only serves the health of the public, but in so many ways serves the multi-billion-dollar businesses
that
around
exist.
the world.
So
yeah.
in many ways, you are really back home.
Yeah.
That you're participating now in this discussion. Can we talk about counterfeits in sports? I know some people might be wondering, I thought counterfeits is for milk or bread, but we actually could be having counterfeits in sports. And Andrew, you'll help us to unpack this. Let's start with the first form of counterfeits in sports, which I think deals with doping, use of illegal substances. How bad is this in sports?
It's huge. It's huge, whichever way you look at it. It's huge, and it's really messing up the sports world. There's so much money being poured in sport now. And because of the money that is being poured in sport, it means there's more pressure on the athletes. So the athletes are under so much pressure from the broadcasters, from the sponsors, and from those up in the stands who normally are the fans. So you found so many situations where so many athletes have been forced into doping. But even the doping we are talking about, the process itself is not very clear. We've seen situations in world sport where some athletes have been taken into doping and results have been negative and later have been proven to be positive. So that's just a small part of it. I think it all starts off with athletes wanting to perform at the highest of levels, performance-enhancing drugs, where you're a footballer and you have to play 90 minutes and it's a long league, and you must score these goals, you must work so hard, so you end up taking a couple of drugs here and there. So you're a fake sports person, for starters. You're giving us fake performances and fake results. But that is just one part of the doping that is fake. Like I said, the other part is that doctor who takes your blood, who takes your urine.
Is also being fake.
How genuine is he? Because at the end of the day, you're the biggest player at a football club somewhere in Africa. The club needs you to play the next 2 or 3 matches. You have a semi-final, you have a final coming up. What are the chances a doctor is going to claim that actually you've tested positive for a certain substance in some of these situations? So It is huge, and unfortunately, it does not only make sport suffer in terms of fake results, it also makes the genuine sportsmen suffer even more, because they should be benefiting from their results from every day and every night's training, and so they are competing against those who are taking fake substances.
But as a sports broadcaster, you are smitten, you are, overwhelmed by this one won this number of medals, championships, and so on. But there's something that I don't quite understand. What happens where medals are won by a team or a person, and afterwards it is discovered that that person was involved in doping? Is it that you just take away the medal is taken away? What happens then to, if it's, let's say, athletics, what happens to the time that you clocked as a world record? Is the time also scrapped?
Yeah, obviously. Now, first of all, it's according to who has found out. Let's start right there. If it's a local competition, probably nothing is going to happen. At the international level, we've seen a Kenyan athlete who, for example, has lost their records before and lost titles before. We've seen Lance Armstrong, how much he's been in trouble. I think it's as simple as saying, once you're found out that you were a fake sports person.
Okay, the medal goes. The gold
medal has to
the
go.
Bronze. Yeah, but the record. If we say that the world record for 100 meters is 9.58, and the guy who won that record was doping, and the record before 958 was 960. So is the record going to go back to 960?
Absolutely.
Or it will stay to 9?
Absolutely. We are back to 960 because the 95 something you said is not fair. It wasn't from your own hard work. There was performance enhancers in your record at the time. And I think it's important this is done in every discipline and across the world, that when records are set and there was some counterfeit in it, some fake in how it was achieved, it has to be scrapped. We cannot keep records that have performance enhancing drugs, because then the normal athletes just might never hit those levels, and you're having someone being praised.
But Andrew, I have not heard of, maybe it has not happened, Ben Johnson. I think he was a sprinter. The time he did the first scandal in Olympics, when they got him doping, was his record taken away?
Yeah, everything was scrapped off and all his titles taken away as well.
Even the record, the timing?
Absolutely. It cannot stay in the books because it's counterfeit, just like you said. My biggest problem is how many of those do we find out? That's the biggest problem I have.
There are so many unfound out.
Exactly, and that's where the problem is. So we have younger sportsmen who are coming into sport today, competing against fake records that were enhanced absolutely different. But whenever they are found out, they have to be taken away, which is not only a disgrace to you as a sports person, it's a disgrace to the companies that supported you while you're a sports person. So it's simply a space you don't want to go into.
Andrew, how is that practical for football, which is your love, basically? If a football team is a team sport, I mean, football is a team sport, so 11 players. So supposing 3 players failed the drug test, the doping test, but they contributed to a 3-0 win of your favorite team against the other team. How many of the goals are taken back because of the doping? Is it if that player who scored was the one guilty of the doping, or is the whole team performance affected? Do the goals come back to 0-0? Is it a draw? Is it a loss?
Unfortunately, I think that's where the small little issue to be discussed is. The team sports haven't gotten to that level where the whole team gets affected because of someone's positive test. I'll give you 2 examples. When Rio Ferdinand, for example, missed a drug test a couple of years ago, he was banned as a footballer. But he had taken part in Manchester United games where United actually had picked up 3 points. But those games were never cancelled. More recently, which is probably even closer to our hearts as Africans, the Ajax goalkeeper, former Ajax goalkeeper, Andre Onana, currently playing at the Africa Cup of Nations with Cameroon, was banned for 14 months because of a banned substance that was found in his system. Obviously, these sportsmen always come up and say, I took an
over Christmas,
painkiller, I ate something, I drank some wine. But he was banned from world football. He's just come back to play for Cameroon, and now he's going to Inter Milan in Italy. But that does not mean that the games where he kept clean sheets with Ajax, which is a Dutch side, are now going to be scrapped away.
So if he saved the penalty, will it become a goal?
No. That will be forgotten in football. So FIFA probably has to do more with drug offenders when it comes down to results, which is hard because it would be very unfair for Manchester United to lose a championship because of one player who probably was doing things when even the team doctor did not know. So that is why for football mainly there's been more individual punishments. And then for the individual sports, you're losing everything.
But don't you think that is some kind of complacency, some kind of connivance, if you like, by sports administration in saying that we can, for something which is an offense, we can allow a result that has benefited, even if by one player, from a crime to stand? Because you see, in law, if you are all found at the scene of crime and you are all accomplices, you are all part of the whole transaction, and you all go and have to defend yourself. So don't you think there's a lack there of understanding? Sports administration is not understanding that counterfeiting is a crime, faking is a crime. And so the permissiveness might be promoting it.
I think the biggest problem here is uniformity. Even if we had specific rules to govern world sport and maybe football, would they be carried throughout the world? Just like VAR. We don't have VAR this side of Africa. It's operating in Europe. Now, I was seeing an interview from Yaya Toure, and he was saying when you're playing for a team like Manchester City, you cannot eat bad food that is against the menu, because the moment you arrive at training the next day, you're going to be checked, your entire system. Therefore, you're right. If you're playing for an established team in Europe or these clubs that have more facilities, South Africa, Egypt, Nigeria, I think if you're found positive, the team doctor should be brought into this and not the rest of the team, because your teammates don't know what is going on. But the reason I'm saying the lack is uniformity, when you come to a country like Uganda and you're playing at AC Villa and you take some drugs and go and perform, how many times do African clubs, for example, do these tests on their players? So you will not have so many players in Africa found out, or even maybe Asia, maybe America, or anywhere else. But in the standardized clubs, the Manchester United, the Real Madrid, the Barcelonas, the Novak Djokovic's of this world, the Roger Federers, I think if you're found positive, your team doctor, people who are responsible for your health and doping every day, are accomplices. And either they should lose their licenses or suddenly should be punished. But it's going to be very hard, like I said. And you understand this, Fred, that stopping counterfeit in the world is one of the hardest things. The best thing we have to do is keep fighting the battle every single day. Awareness, until a bigger part of the population starts understanding how dangerous this thing is. But in terms of sport, it's going to be hard to have that uniformity across, because we don't have the same facilities in the underdeveloped world.
Andrew, you're talking about facilities. Recently, there was a story in the media about fake vaccination cards for COVID, complete with official seal, official signature, stamp, and so on. In sports, there have been cases where the labs or some government agencies have been covering up and giving fake results on doping. I think we had a scandal in soccer or Olympics. Russia was saying, for us, our results from Russia are saying our swimmers are okay. The results from another lab were. So you don't have guarantee that if you increase testing in sports for doping, that you'll actually wipe out counterfeits. You agree?
Yeah, I agree, but I feel like you're rushing away from the fake vaccination cards. Like, do we even take a step back as human beings and realize how dangerous this is? Because there must be a reason everyone needs to be vaccinated. And let's say, as Fred, you've agreed, you don't want vaccinations into your system, whether that affects other people or not. But do we understand how dangerous it is for you to have a fake vaccination card? Because it means you're a very dangerous human being on the streets, and you're considered safe by the state or by the authorities. So for starters, we need to talk about the punishments. We need to talk about what these people should go through. The media story you're talking about, I did see it. I've not seen much of government reaction, for example, since then going downtown at NASA to arrest all these shops.
They are going to take time and check the system again.
Well,
have you seen an arrest even?
That's my point. So my biggest problem with counterfeit at this level is it's so dangerous, but we take it so light. We take it so light, and I don't even understand it. I have been so lucky to travel across Africa. And today, one of the things I do most every day is basically put up my nose for doctors, because you have to do tests at every airport, at every arrival. So if I'm going through that, why is someone else not going through that? If I'm going through vaccinations, why is someone else not going through them? And yet we share spaces. So one of my problems is the journalists are doing a fantastic job to unearth some of these, practices going on. But I don't feel like the authorities are doing enough. And the authorities should be blamed themselves, because we might go down to Nasser Road and affect and attack and arrest all these people. But the population is so huge. These things are happening everywhere. You and I were having a discussion a couple of years ago about fake meat, things that are being put in our tomatoes, and how we are getting cancer and all these bacterial infections because of the counterfeit pesticides and everything we are using. But we did ask ourselves the question, even then, how many markets have authorities watching over them? It's such a big exactly. So if the authorities are not going to come up and take this issue serious, I think the public should come up and claim that these people should not be in power because they are not protecting our livelihoods, because we are dying because of things that we suddenly are paying for. So the counterfeit issue, yes, is started by the public. But my view, the authorities don't have an iron hand that is enough to stop this. People are dying, that's the truth, Fred.
We're going to take a break, but when we return, we shall be talking about counterfeits, AFCON, and so on. This Senegalese goalkeeper, Mendy, is not going to play, I don't know for how many games.
Because of a
because he has
test.
COVID.
Yeah.
So somebody was joking that he should have come to Nasser Road to get a COVID vaccination card. You know, it's that bad. Yeah. And the problem is that it's bad and it remains bad and we do nothing about it. We need to be taking a break. Welcome back to the second segment of this discussion of counterfeits in sports and generally the community. We are here with Andrew Kabuura, a sports broadcaster, not new to many of you sports lovers, even those who don't love sports. Where do they find you?
Online.
They find you on Twitter, they find you
on Twitter,
you have
Instagram,
a plot
and
on
Facebook.
Twitter and Snapchat?
No, Snapchat. I failed to do Snapchat, Fred. I'm too old for Snapchat. But I'm on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. So
Andrew Kabuura is here to discuss his views about counterfeiting. And we broke off at a point of AFCON. Okay, of course, AFCON is about the tournament, Cameroon won, and so on. That's not really what our interest is for this discussion. AFCON is 24 countries, okay, participating in a tournament. Combined population of those countries is 760 million. So you have maybe 10% of those glued on their screens to watch their favorite star, to watch Mane and all this. But these events are a driver of counterfeiting, of sports merchandising, of piracy, of content. People are stealing the DSTV from the satellite and all these issues to watch the game. Do you agree with that assessment that these events like AFCON are actually promoting counterfeiting culture in sports?
Absolutely. I think the counterfeiter always looks out for the biggest market he can tap into. Whatever product he has, he wants to sell mass. You talk about the numbers of the teams that are playing at the AFCON, but the AFCON is such a huge event that it takes Africa's attention, every part of the continent.
So it's not just the 24?
No, I mean, Africa is 1.2 billion people. And the latest statistics do suggest that the TV coverage across the continent is up 43%. The next 10 years could go up to 50-something%. So you're looking at someone...
But we have a very low coverage of TVs. We only have less than 80 million households with TV sets in Africa.
Absolutely.
For a population of 1 billion. So somebody may argue that maybe the penetration is not high.
No, but there are huge millions of people who are thronging bars and viewing sports, for example, to watch the AFCON. So I do understand when you say households, but I think TV is pretty much available to almost everyone. I see public screenings of news here in Kampala, for example, on the streets. But to get your point, the excitement that comes with the AFCON, being a football tournament, being a religion to so many people, means we get so much off the screen that we want to own. When you see Sadio Mane playing in a Senegalese shirt, you want that same shirt.
You want the jersey.
Just yesterday, I went to try and find a Uganda Cranes jersey for my friends down in Ethiopia who said, you must bring us a Uganda Cranes jersey. And one of the things I did was go to, I won't say the name, one of Uganda's biggest supermarkets. It's actually, I think, Kenyan owned, but one of the biggest Ugandan supermarkets. And I rushed to the segment the area where they're saying jerseys. And there are 2 jerseys. And these jerseys are packed in Buvera. But they're fake jerseys. It's not even the official jersey released by FUFA in this country, the official kit. This is one of the biggest supermarkets in the country, selling a fake jersey.
And one of the reasons why we have counterfeits is that we fear to name and shame.
Yeah.
So I think it might be, help me pick that phone. It might be a good starting
to
point
name and shame
in future.
Hello.
No, just put it down.
Please, in a few minutes, he's doing an interview. Thank you. Kale, thank you. But the check, you can send it to my...
Yeah, one of the biggest drivers of counterfeiting is the fear to name and shame.
Yeah.
We've had on this show some programs where somebody bought a product and we have the receipt, we have the name of the supermarket or outlet. So in a way, we as consumers, sometimes we are contributing to the problem by not, because if there was a fake product in a certain outlet, it's a fact. Let the outlet come and defend itself on that.
For me, I think I understand what you mean, but also I think it is what you do. I'll give you my own personal example. When I saw the jersey, I walked to the manager who was on duty, and I told him, I'm looking for Uganda Cranes jersey, and this is not it. And the young man absolutely knows nothing about sport or doesn't care about sport. We had 2 or 3 minutes of him insisting that is the official Uganda Cranes kit. And I had to pick out pictures of my Instagram and say this is the official kit. But for me, the issue is, what does that mean, not just the Uganda Cranes sales as FUFA? What does that mean to me, who is delivering a present to a friend of mine, when in 2 or 3 months he finds out I actually brought them a fake jersey? And for me, that's where the whole big picture is. And these things are brought in by the Africa Cup of Nations and football generally in general. It is such a huge tournament, and at the end of the day, it is a problem we've got to face. I was seeing pictures from Cameroonian streets where they are selling the Indomitable Lions jerseys. And you can see clearly see those are fake jerseys. But this is in Cameroon.
At $1 or $2.
$1 or $2. And because the fans want to support their national side and they have this, they go and buy at that small price. But this is happening in Yaoundé, which is the spotlight of the world today for Africa's biggest footballing tournament. So when we talk about counterfeit and people take it unserious, I never get it.
So don't you think that there must be an obligation, a condition set for organizers of such events to show the anti-counterfeit measures they are putting in place to ensure the merchandising follows the licit supply chain and so on? You should not be allowed to organize an event unless you have measures to control the effects.
Absolutely. There is no reason, and I will even bring it back here in Uganda because I think it's easily understandable by the Ugandans. There's no reason we have a shop downtown that sells Manchester United jerseys. Absolutely no reason. Because those hundreds of shops, there's no way...
That is a shop. They can be in a heap on the street in the evening.
Exactly.
Man U, Chelsea, 20K.
There's no way that is a genuine jersey. And I understand, when you take this argument downtown, you might be stoned. That is how some people have benefited from counterfeit for a long while. Some people are going to ask you, I have a family. How should I feed my family? But you're feeding your family by killing other people. Out of a criminal
activity, first of all.
Exactly. So this happens everywhere. So I think it's got to be regulation from a government level. As far as we are in these third world countries, people are going to find every way to make money. For example, Fred, you've been all over Europe. We don't have these problems in Europe. Why? Why don't we have these problems in Europe? You watch the Manchester United game and there's 70,000 people in Old Trafford, of which 95% are British or the surrounding countries, and they have different kits, old and new. All those are legit kits, which means the players out on the field are being paid. So Manchester United is losing absolutely no money. Why is this a big African problem? Why is this coming to the African continent? I got my same issue.
Because enforcement of regulations.
The authorities is my point.
But Andrew, I've traveled many places.
Yeah.
Whereas you may not find a street downtown in Europe selling in the evening market, in a flea market, selling jerseys and stuff. In Europe, they have a lot of online sales. And the online sale is just a picture of your favorite jersey and an order and a payment and a delivery to your house. So a report shows 2 years ago that 44% of the sales of sports jerseys online were fake, and a lot of those were in Europe. So Europe is also facing a problem, but from another angle. Here in Africa, it's still raw. So online sales, comment on online sales of jerseys. So many people are thinking they are ordering for genuine, but it's turning up to be fake.
Obviously, online sales, I think, came into the world to solve problems. And we have gotten so comfortable with them. But with them solving problems, they actually have become the problem. Why? Because as a Ugandan in Kawempe, getting a Manchester United jersey on Amazon or whatever it is, I'm quite confident.
Talk about Jumia here.
Yeah, Jumia. It's going to be the best jersey I'm going to have, because at the end of the day, I feel the person is legit, that the company is well registered, it's an international company. But then if it's fake, then Jumia or Amazon need to be questioned as well. Whoever buys that fake jersey needs to raise their hand, because you're spending a lot of money. It means someone behind the counter is actually making more money off these counterfeit sales. Just the other day, I'll give you a more live example. The Federation of Uganda Football Association, FUFA, announced that Jumia is going to be their official selling partner of the Uganda Cranes jerseys. Meaning, if you want a legit jersey, and I'm not advertising for Jumia here now, you go through them and get jerseys. But how many Ugandan football fans are going through those kind of platforms, for example, to get jerseys? We are still going downtown to get stuff that has just been put together by a couple of sharp crooks that have decided to make a lot of money. But in the long run, here are the two big impacts. One, you're buying a jersey which you will wash twice, and the word Uganda has no U anymore, so you're working with Uganda or something. But also FUFA doesn't get money, and yet they are the
Who is taking that money? Yeah. Some faker.
So the online sales are themselves fake, but I think they're easier to regulate. This is my view. They're easier to regulate because we do know who is selling you these kits, because you have these batch numbers of transfers, you have these receipts that are coming to you, and then the authorities need to come hard on them to make sure this is stopped. And if it's not online, then it's harder to regulate, unless we sensitize, create awareness with these traders and tell them, by selling fake jerseys, you think you're benefiting, but you're actually losing. Because if I buy a jersey from you today and I realize it's bad, I'm not coming back to you. But the chances the authorities get to you as well and arrest you are so high. So it's a loss on both ways. These are very short-term benefits.
But you agree, Andrew, that this is not a responsibility you're going to live with sports administration or distribution of merchandising or government or consumers. It is an ecosystem that involves everybody playing their role. So meaning that you sports broadcasters, whereas you are broadcasting the results of Cameroon and this, can you also have some messaging? Can you introduce messaging on counterfeiting in sports in your programming?
Absolutely. I think we need to do so. But I also do believe we should be systematic with it. In terms of the main authorities at the top need to embrace it, as we also embrace it. We have to do what we can within our small spaces. But these big authorities at the top need to come through. CAF, which is the Confederation of Africa Football, needs to come up and say, if you're found with a fake kit on the streets of Yaoundé, you will be arrested. The message, there must be some political will that comes in from
Andrew,
the top.
You work with SuperSport. Does SuperSport need permission from the government of Burkina Faso or Zimbabwe, which is participating in AFCON, to put content, to say, get your favorite jersey for the Super Eagles or for the Indomitable Lions, but please buy genuine and buy it here and there, because you have control as a broadcaster on your programming
Yeah.
and the content. You don't need a license from
Yeah.
from a government. Can't you do it as SuperSport?
Of course they can. Of course they can. And I don't know if they think they are doing it by simply displaying these judges and explaining them before matches or as tournament build-ups do come through. But isn't it about the reach as well? There's a huge part of the reach. I mean, how many people in Africa are watching SuperSport at the moment? How many people are watching SuperSport compared, for example, watching UBC here in Uganda? So there's an issue of the reach. But you're right, the media owners, the top players in the sports field need to take this serious. We need to take counterfeit in sport as serious as we're taking results and as we're taking VAR. Everyone is doing VAR today. But have you seen counterfeit in VAR as well? We've seen clear decisions that have been made. We've seen clear penalties. We've seen decisions that should have been red cards. They've gone to the review with the VAR, and the red cards have not been given. Now, Fred, you and I might discuss, as sports lovers, that, it was a 50-50 ball to hand. But the truth of the matter is we're using video and still giving away fake penalties. So there's a huge problem that is coming in with counterfeit, apart from the kit, just to the games themselves, the sportsmen being 100% or not using drug and performance-enhancing drugs in all these situations. But my view is we need political will from the main blocks at the top.
From the government.
From the government, from SuperSport, from CAF, from FIFA, from the Premier League. We need political will from the top, because down here people are struggling to survive, and that's a fact. You and I know that people in counterfeit are just trying to survive. They're doing something very wrong, and they're being given the leeway to actually continue with what is going on. So we should discuss this as many times as we can. People should be aware of what is counterfeit and what's not counterfeit. But the authorities at the top need to have a harder hand in terms of coming down and saying, if your phone doing this, if your phone doing this, but they're not doing it. They're not doing it. The media reports it. It's top news on every television at 9 p.m. And we move on. Today, Fred, today, there are people going to be vaccinated. Today. But there are people who are not going to be vaccinated today. But both have vaccination cards. This is weeks after the big story has come out. So
it's like nothing
how
has
do you explain,
changed.
That's my point. How
Nothing
do you
has
explain
changed,
that?
yeah.
So you force the public into giving up. Sometimes the public starts saying, if the people at the top are not helping regulate what is going on, what should we do down here? There's a couple of people who are doing their best. But it's very hard if you don't sensitize people for them to understand what is going on. When I was filming Don't Be Fake With You, we talked about fake Royco. But it's almost lunchtime. I'm trying to make sure we don't tell you what time we're recording this program. But it's almost lunchtime here in Uganda now. Everyone is rushing to a restaurant. What are the chances you're going to a restaurant whose Royco is not fake? But we've discussed this so many times. If I enter a restaurant, I'm not going to call Mama Nachi and say, please bring the Royco bottle you used before making this food. And I check. That's what I'm saying. There's got to be more talk from the top. People who are in charge of these brands, the government, people who regulate how trade happens in countries, they need to come down strong and not keep saying this should be regulated by... No.
Andrew, we need to take a break. We are returning with Andrew Kabuura, a sports commentator. I don't know why you say sports commentator, sports broadcaster.
Yeah.
You're basically a football fanatic. He's a football fanatic. He's here talking about counterfeits in sports. We are coming back with the last segment where we shall be talking about technology, for technology, against counterfeits, and sponsorships in sports. Is sponsorship, brand sponsorship, promoting counterfeits in sports or not? This is the last segment of the League of the Genuine Conversations here. It is hot off air because Andrew Kabuura appears to be one of those ambassadors against counterfeits. You've just been on a sabbatical, but I can see you still have fire in you. Yeah. Andrew, technology in sports, or technology generally, and counterfeiting in sports. There is something called financial fair play rules in sports.
Yeah.
Something to do with how money moves, the purchase, transfer of players and so on. But a lot of this actually turns out to be laundering and so on and so forth. And these financial irregularities, it's not like one person gets sacks of money, 100 million pounds, and buys a player or whatever. All these transactions are electronic.
Yeah.
They are technology enabled. And it's a big issue in sports. So from that perspective, how is technology promoting counterfeit culture in sports?
Oh, it's not only promoting it, but it's also killing it and creating very unfair competition. I really love the fact that you're talking about counterfeit in sport and electronically, because I think sometimes the scope of counterfeit in so many people's mind is so limited to the food you're consuming, to the flat iron you're using and everything. But for example, financial fair play was introduced in sports to make sure there is good competition and fair competition between anyone. If you're a small football club, you should spend as much money as you earn. This is down to how many fans are coming to your stadium. That is how much money you should be spending. Recently, there's been a huge case between FIFA and Manchester City, for example. Manchester City is pretty much state-owned. But at the end
in what sense?
State-owned because the owners are from Abu Dhabi.
Is it the state or the government of Abu Dhabi that owns Man City?
I mean, that has been taken through airlines, Etihad and everything. But the recent research does suggest that Man City was spending more money than it earns on signing players. So where is the money coming from? It's as simple as that. Same thing is probably going to be happening at teams like Newcastle in the Premier League very soon. Or PSG. PSG is actually the biggest of examples. PSG is not earning as much money as they're spending at the moment. Let's be fair with it. The lawyers and the accountants will have a different say to what I'm saying. But they sign Neymar at crazy money and huge salaries. Then they sign Messi, and they're giving them good long-term contracts. Then they sign Sergio Ramos. They don't have the biggest stadium
They
in
still
Europe.
have Mbappe there. They have big earners.
They don't have the biggest stadium in Europe. They don't have the biggest number of fans, even in France. Marseille is the traditional French club. They have more fans. So now question marks will be raised. How are you signing all these big superstars? Even though everything is electronic and transfers and everything, it means some of the money is coming straight from the state into the club. Now what that means is you cannot compete against the state. Other clubs can never compete against Manchester City. So the fact that that can be manipulated, this is where counterfeit comes in.
So are you saying some of these practices, if you like, malpractices at the top can filter down into the club, into the players and onto the field of play?
Absolutely, because
how?
There's already a feeling of what we are doing is not within the law. You know, a football match is not won within 90 minutes. Football games are won days before kickoff itself. If I'm a footballer at PSG, for example, and I do know that we are signing so many superstars and we don't seem to be respecting financial fair play, there's no reason for me not to come up and say I need my pay to be raised, even when I know the club financially probably might not manage it. You understand? And at the end of the day, it creates a very bad test within the league, because football is, again, it's an emotional sport. You saw how everyone in the world was up in arms when they said Manchester City could be banned from the Champions League for making transfers that were way higher than their own income. What does that mean to other clubs in the league? What does that mean to the spirit of football? So one issue of counterfeit could spoil the temperature of the game across the country. And then we don't pay attention to that because the lawyers come up and say the club was brilliant, we did things right, it was within the law, and then that case is thrown under the carpet. But what does that mean to Wolves, to West Brom Albion, to these small Newcastles of this world, to Evertons of this world?
You are pointing to something, it's controversial. You are in a way pointing to what could be called fake wins, therefore.
Yeah.
So the wins by these clubs that are not practicing financial fair play are fake, but there is the fan. That is what the fan wants. The fan wants PSG to win. The fan wants Manchester City to score 9 goals every other game. The fan wants Man U to win. Don't you think that we, the fans, are the ones that are driving and encouraging those irregularities you're talking about in sport? Because we are demanding. There is no fan I have met of any club, Barcelona, Man U, who will say that it's okay, today we can lose. Every fan, 100%, wants to win every game, every single day. So because of that attitude, the club owners, the players are forced to go for such fake things?
I think it's a very dangerous way to look at it. The fans are always going to pile the pressure from the stands, and the fans have piled pressure.
So are they responsible for that?
I don't think so. I don't think so. I think the clubs need to stand firm and make sure they have a system. We're not having financial fair play so many years ago. The transfer market did not have that much money so many years ago. But clubs were grinding these results. When you go back to Arsenal's unbeaten run in 2004, you cannot come up and say the fans were demanding or the players weren't demanding. Football has always been about pressure from the stands to pressure on the pitch. It is the responsibility, like I said at the beginning, of the authorities. These big clubs need to stand up and say we need to be fair in sport. Clubs that are relegated also have pressure from the fans up in the stands. But they stick within the rules and realize we cannot spend £100 million to buy Cristiano Ronaldo, to buy Lionel Messi. So they have to buy the smaller players. So if they are going through that, what makes you think your fans at Manchester City, at PSG, have more passion for the game and they need to win more?
Andrew, it might be easy for you as a sports broadcaster
Yeah.
to have those views.
Yeah.
Now let me tell you the practical side. I have been a president of a football club here, Sports Club Villa.
Yeah.
And when I am talking about pressure from fans, I have had live, real experience.
Yeah.
One of the things we faced, which is still there in Villa, was fans' violence. Okay? You have fans turning against a player because he missed a penalty, or they start attacking their own.
Yeah.
You have fans fighting, beating up the other. Here we still have the issue. I saw FUFA announcing that, the hooliganism and the fighting. These things by the fans bring them right into the center of the fakeness about sports.
Yeah.
That incident in that place in England, in Sheffield, the game, the FA Cup semi-final between Liverpool and Nottingham Forest, where almost 100 people died.
Yeah, very sad.
Is one big blight on football. So when you are absolving the fan, I know you love fans, you broadcasters, you smile to them and they tweet your tweets and so on. You are in a way sanitizing and massaging them, yet they are actually killing the game.
Yeah, look, Fred, I know exactly what you mean, but for me, I also could ask you, you're the boss at the Anti-Counterfeit Network Africa. If two of your videographers or employees come up and say, I have a child at home, I have more problems now, if you don't increase my money, I'm going. You're under pressure. But if the increment your worker needs goes past your budget and your constraints in the budget, you're going to let them go, or they're going to have to stick to the salary they are having. Did you get what I mean? So pressure from the fans should not be used
for results.
Yeah, but it should not be used as an excuse for clubs to break laws.
No, I'm saying, but now if the fans become unreasonable and then they become violent and break things and destroy, I'm saying that is contributing to the fakeness around the football experience, and therefore fans must also be held liable by you broadcasters, by the regulators, by the Football Federation, by the clubs. That's what I'm saying.
But I think it's a different story, because now we've gone into fan violence and fans' behavior.
Yeah, it's part of the fakeness.
There was trouble here recently between KCC and Ondum Paraka in the Uganda Premier League, where they went and the referee gave away penalty, a fake penalty. I think we should go back to counterfeit. And because of that, the players revolted and the fans came onto the field and the KCC bus was stoned. And then we have all these court cases, we have these damages to deal with. And our discussion...
Were the fans right? No, even if it was a fake penalty?
I think the fans are never right in terms of causing commotion at games. It has happened for centuries, don't get me wrong, but we've got to face them as facts. The fans have got to stay up in the stands. If they pile the pressure on the club, there's no reason Man City, and I'm not saying Man City has, or PSG, there's no reason for them to break financial fair play rules because of the pressure from the stands. Clubs have done this for years. Improve your quality of play, improve on your technology, bring in better players at a young age. These days you have players in Eastern Europe and in Africa who are very cheap. Bring in a better coach, achieve results. It's about being fair in the game, because at the end of the day, if you're not fair, someone somewhere is going to be hurt.
So should we expect your football fans, like here, who wake up, use fake toothpaste, use fake lotion, eat fake cereal, enter a fake car with fake tires.
Yeah.
Do you expect them to behave any different in the evening when they
Absolutely
go for the match?
not. Absolutely not. But you see, this one is more of passion out in the stands. And I think fans are, it's something to do with fan education. I don't think the fans force clubs to be fake. That is my personal view. I think they're always going to be emotional, they're always going to be rowdy. But I just wish those fans one day are told about what you've just said, that they have fake products all the way from home until
so
the
the
stadiums.
fakeness goes into the
has carried through them into the
So if you want to stop fan violence in the stadia, can you also fight the fakes, what they are eating? If they are taking in quality, they'll bring quality out at the stadium.
Yeah, but I think the biggest takeaway from it is the brands of these clubs.
Yeah, and that's what I want to talk about now. The next aspect of the fan, they are corporate fans who are also sponsors.
Yeah.
These fans who are sponsors will withdraw their support if faking, like the doping that I was talking about, comes into existence. But do you feel they are doing enough to stamp out counterfeiting in sports? Don't you think somehow they are massaging the issue? They are not being hard enough? And don't you think even the money that they are putting, if one athlete sees that the other one has an endorsement deal of so many millions, they will be now forced to excel so that they also get the sponsorship? And they, in a way, pushing faking at the same time, maybe they are stopping it.
Here is my thinking. My thinking is most of the establishments are not taking counterfeit serious.
Including the brands?
Including the brands. Especially the brands.
That sponsor?
Especially the brands, because what are you doing there? What are you doing at a club when you know they have been involved in 10 match fixing scandals this season? What are you doing there as a brand? What is it
they
you're
have
selling?
a fan base, so that's a market for my merchandising, for my product, for my soft drink. That's how they reason. They look at the numbers.
But it's the same as saying that I can introduce a virus into the community and then introduce the antidote as well and eventually make money. Those are two different things. I think the brands that are getting into sport and spending so much money in sport should ask for accountability at different levels. You talked about fake fans. If I'm a fan watching AC Villa Express right now in Nambole and I get water bottle and throw it at a player down, I'm actually a fake fan. I shouldn't be doing that. I should be respecting the player.
The water bottle is a brand?
Yeah. No, even if it was just a stone and I'm throwing it at players down because we haven't gotten the results right, I'm a fake fan. But my question is, then what is this company coming to sponsor my club for? Companies should stay away from anything that promotes counterfeit if they themselves are doing enough to fight counterfeit. This is why at the beginning of our discussion, Fred, I said, for me, it's going to have to be the power brokers, the top people at these establishments who make these big decisions. If anything comes and there's a bit of counterfeit in it, don't involve your brand, because your brand is going to be affected by this eventually, and you can do nothing about it. I'll give you probably a worse example. Andre Onana, bless him, the goalkeeper of Cameroon. He's just been off the 14 months of suspension by FIFA. If tomorrow morning he puts on a branded shirt that says your company's brand, would you be happy? Some people will not be happy. They're saying this guy takes drugs, this guy is not fair.
And you're associating.
And now you're associating with him.
Associative power.
Exactly. Though the humanity side of the story will say he is a changed man. He's not going to take drugs again. So he's putting on your brand. So there's a very thin line in between there. But I think brands need to de-associate themselves with anything to do with counterfeit.
There's another form of faking as we end this, involving brands. Some people, especially of the other gender, the women, argue that the brands are discriminative. That for the same sports discipline, like football, you are paying a male athlete, a male footballer, so much for an endorsement or whatever, even the clubs, the wages, so high. And the female athlete, who also plays by the same FIFA rules, gets the red card, scores the same goal, puts in the same minutes, is paid 30% less. So what is your comment about that in terms of the equity that genuine products should be having? Is that faking?
For me, I think first of all, it's unfair that in 2022 we are still discussing women's rights. I just find it silly. I find it unfair. I don't know why this hasn't been sorted out by us as human beings. I still don't understand why.
But you, the male, are the dominant.
When you
maybe even you as a sports broadcaster, are the women sports broadcasters paid the same like you?
I don't know.
Okay, you may not tell us
I haven't checked.
Are you being paid the same? I'm sure when Kabuura walks in, and there's also a female broadcaster, they say, but you know this is Andrew Kabuura. So his paycheck is...
Now that you have involved my name, I will drop out of this discussion. But my view is, there was a recent discussion in tennis at the Australian Open, I think last year. And the discussion was, if a lady wins the Australian Open, why didn't she pay the same money as Roger Federer, as Rafael Nadal, as Novak Djokovic, as Andy Murray? And I find it fair. The discussion that has been brought in by those who think women should add less are saying, when two women are playing, the crowd is less. It's something to do with attractiveness. You don't have as many fans watching women's sport. For example, the Women's World Cup doesn't have as many fans as the Men's World Cup. Whether it's the stereotypes that the men play better football or not, but you have more crowds when men are playing compared to when women are playing as well. And that has caused the big difference between the payments. But it should be aligned. I think women should earn as men. But we also have to give it to the market forces. It's about attractiveness of the performances.
So women are more beautiful, but they are not attractive when they are playing sports. That's why we're not watching them. We need to stop here, Andrew. What is your message to your sports audiences on Counterfeits as we close? For the new year, what should they do?
I have so many messages, but for me, my main message is really to, not even to the Africans in terms of Counterfeits. For me, it's to the big brands out in Europe that are doing a fantastic job in terms of supplying not just material, not just jerseys to the African continent. I think they need to take more attention to the fact that we have so much counterfeit of sports products, sportswear on the African continent. And whereas we, the Africans, might enjoy it because we are so price sensitive and we can spend less money to have the same jerseys, in the long term we struggle because we can't keep these jerseys for long. But for the big corporates across Europe and across the West and everything, they need to realize that they are not only losing a lot of money from their merchandise to the African continent because we never buy their merchandise which is legitimate, which is genuine. We are buying so many fake products across the African continent. So we are hurting in the long run, and I'm sure they're also not making as much money as they should be making. So my final message to the sports world is, let us try as much as we can to be genuine. Because for us as football fans, as sports fans, the more genuine we are, the more the industry grows. Because that means we spend more money on these products, the sportsmen and the sportswomen get what they deserve.
Andrew is asking for a cleanup in the sports industry, in the merchandising, in all aspects of sports. And that's a welcome thing because sports is like a religion. Sports attracts us in our different ways and it is growing, Andrew. It is not something that is about to stop. So we need to thank you, Andrew, so much. We know you came right from Ethiopia to just come for this show. Andrew is also doing work with SuperSport in Ethiopia and here as well, and other parts of Africa. We are happy that you made time to come for this interview. This interview should have been last year, but because of his busy schedule, he could not come. We'd like to sign off by thanking you once again for starting the new year with us, and we hope you'll follow us throughout the new year. We thank you for liking, sharing, and put the notification, the reminders. This is the biggest show on Counterfeits on the planet, and we have personalities like Andrew here to spice it up. We end by asking you to not to be fake, to always buy and sell genuine.